This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, our weekly flagship show Marijuana Today, as well as the weekly shows Weed Wonks and The Green Rush, which you could find over at weedwonks.com and greenrushpodcast.net. To advertise to the best audience in legal marijuana, just email me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com to get started as a sponsor. That's shay@mjtodaymedia.com, with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, March 6th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 899 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We lead off today in Boston, Massachusetts, which is slated on Monday to see its first adult use marijuana dispensary open up. While there are a few adult use shops near Boston proper, none of yet have been able to open up within the city itself, so this one is all around good news. The Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission just gave the nod to dispensary Pure Oasis to start doing business on Monday. This is doubly cool news because the entrepreneurs behind Pure Oasis are the first participants in the state's social equity program to open up shop in the state. Huge congratulations to Pure Oasis owners Kobe Evans and Kevin Hart for their work, and good luck on your opening on Monday. Ashley Schwellenbach has a headline that is decidedly less cheery than our previous headline as we turn to New York City, where a video has surfaced of police assaulting a man while arresting him for smoking cannabis in a park at night. The video shows a young black man first accosted by an undercover police officer, who is then joined by a whole gang of NYPD cops who pile on and violently arrest the young man, who can be heard asking what offense he's committed and then screaming in pain. It's terrible, and you have to watch it, because this kind of bullshit happens everywhere, every single day. This is why we need to end the racist war on marijuana and the broader war on drugs. Open this one up and watch it and share it and keep fighting. Kyle Yeager at Marijuana Moment brings the mood meter back to the hopeful side of the dial with an update out of Oregon, where yesterday activists announced that they've collected more than enough valid signatures to place a citizens' initiative on the November ballot to decriminalize the small-time possession of all drugs and to boost funding for drug treatment. Organizers behind the Drug Treatment and Recovery Act say they have around 125,000 valid signatures, or 10,000 more than they need to land on the ballot. If passed and made into law, the measure would remove criminal penalties for possessing small amounts of marijuana, to be replaced with a civil fine of no more than $100. This is fantastic. Best of luck to everyone involved with this. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, our weekly flagship show, Marijuana Today, as well as the weekly shows Weed Wonks and Green Rush, which you can find over at weedwonks.com and greenrushpodcast.net. We've been making podcasts about legal marijuana since way back in 2014, which in cannabis times is like a bazillion years. And it's been our business to do so for coming up on 3 years now. We've been able to do this because we have a laser focus on providing great shows to our audience that also help make them better at their job. Our listeners trust us because we lay out all of our collective cards on the table. If you would like to help support the work we do, and most importantly, tell your own legal marijuana marketing story to the best audience in the industry as a sponsor, then you need to email me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com. I'm completely biased here, but I believe that we are the best marketing value around when it comes to reaching decision makers and other important folks in legal marijuana. Where else can you tap so directly into tens of thousands of all the right people every single day and week? Get on our advertising calendar today by first emailing me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com, with Shay spelled SHEA. That's shay@mjtodaymedia.com. All right, time for the Blitz. Michigan continues to evolve its legal marijuana program with an announcement by state officials of the planned phase out of medical marijuana caregivers, who will be prohibited starting on October 1st from selling products to licensed medical marijuana provisioning centers, as dispensaries are officially known in the state. The Michigan Regulatory Agency pitched the move as a way to, quote, stimulate business growth while protecting patient safety. Up to Canada for a headline where the Ontario Cannabis Store just released its first annual report covering the time after the nation made adult use marijuana legal. As Marijuana Business Daily's Matt Lamers points out, the report is a little late in that the time period it covers, April 2018 to March 2019, ended a full year ago. Even so, it's a worthy read, as there are a lot of things up in Ontario that should probably avoided everywhere else, as the province's marijuana program has seen a total loss of $50 million Canadian during its first 2 years of operating. Pop over to Marijuana Business Daily for more here and to download the report yourself. Utah just opened up its first legal marijuana dispensary on Monday, and the program is already in need of a new program director, as Andrew Rigby just announced that he would be resigning from his position to focus more time on a healthcare app startup that Rigby says is not involved in cannabis. If you're in Utah, have the right skill set, and are looking for a job, there's now one open. We have an update to an older storyline involving a man who was arrested last summer for driving a truckload of industrial hemp through South Dakota. Robert Hertzberg was pulled over by police in July and arrested after they found a giant load of hemp that he had been paid to drive through the state to Colorado. Thankfully, this week, the most serious charge brought against Mr. Hertzberg was dropped, though he still does face a possible year in prison for having used drugs, for which you can be jailed in South Dakota. But at the very least, he's no longer looking at the 30 possible years he could have gotten for the possession and distribution charge that was dropped by prosecutors. We'll continue to follow along with this one as it resolves. Ben Adlin, writing over Marijuana Moments, picked up on a new advisory just issued by the U.S. Department of Justice that warns gun dealers in Michigan that they need to start conducting federal background checks on unlicensed people looking to purchase guns, as a previous policy allowing them to instead accept state-issued concealed pistol licenses left the possibility open that, quote, habitual marijuana users, unquote, could end up purchasing firearms. Federal law prevents anyone from owning a gun and using marijuana, so a question is asked on the application for gun licenses whether a person uses marijuana, with lying carrying the penalty of a felony. This is one of those places where the disparities between federal and state law are causing a lot of friction, so not a bad overall storyline to have a decent handle on. You can read the full memo itself over at Marijuana Moment. Vibe High takes a look at the progress being made in the U.S. Virgin Islands towards a more progressive cannabis policy, as the Island Territories Cannabis Advisory Board met for the first time just at the end of February. The board elected officers, voting Miguel Tricochet as chair, and covered a number of topics, including creating a new program website and expediting a process to bring the current 5-member board up to the 9 members it's designed to be. Sean McGuire has more here if the Virgin Islands is on your radar. And finally for today, we have a very cool story out of Mary Jane, which highlights an unofficial leaking of a new pair of shoes supposedly being released by Nike ahead of the annual 420 holiday to pay homage to cannabis. Nike's new Strawberry Cough sneaker is pitched for sneaker fans who also happen to enjoy cannabis, which I imagine there are quite a few of. The new designer sneaker is red and green in tone, with a funny little strawberry character getting high on the side, with an equally cool illustration of the same character plastered to the shoe's soles. Swing over to Mary Jane to see leaked photos of the shoes. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Monday morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.